Hey, hello, it's Tammy with Cheers to Creativity, and we're going to paint some hydrangeas. So I hope you are able to watch or even paint with me. I just got home, so I'm a little behind, but we're going to pull up on my iPad super quick. Let's go down. This way I can sit. You can do these hydrangeas in any color you want. I showed you my little sample sheet, and this one was actually 5 different colors. This was deep burgundy, dioxide purple, Prussian blue, I'm not sure, coral, maybe bright salmon, and this was brilliant purple. Now I could have done the purples the same and just lightened them up more, but I had them out. Okay, gotta find us one quick sec. Need no pattern, which is nice, I think. Facebook, maybe. Look at that. I just got home, so I'm a little. There we go. Get rid of the noise, and there we are. Okay. Feel free to comment. I will go back afterwards. For those of you who don't know, Facebook automatically is now deleting things after 30 days. So if you are someone who likes to watch these first and then come back and do it later, just keep that in mind. And also know that I will be uploading this to my YouTube channel, so you'll be able to find it there. Because I'm doing this as a free class demonstration here, of course it'll be a public post over there as well. Okay, I did a large round, it's 18 inches, and I was kind of thinking I might want to put words in the middle of it, so I am going to kind of try to do my hydrangeas more kind of clumped together down on one corner and maybe in the top corner. You will notice, if you can see my window behind me, we are backwards. It's not going to matter. We're painting roundish flowers that inside that flower there's lots and lots of little petals. And I'm going to show you the petals after I pick my colors. What color do I want? I think I will do a couple different colors just to show you. So I'm going to put you down. Hi, Joanne. Just how Joanne was on. Who else is on? Good to see you. If I do add words, and the slats I've got to work on, but I think I could do, may your journey always lead you home. And so I've got to figure what 3 are in the middle. That might look good. No, if I did it up here and made this more flowery, that might work. So that's where I'm going to concentrate on my flowers. If we have time, I actually picked up some metal buckets at the Goodwill today for 99¢. I might have a chance to show you 1 or 2 on metal as well. So I want to make sure this is where I want to do this. Can we see this? I'm putting my hand where I want to be doing my flowers so I can make sure we can see this. I love having a delay. Yeah, we're pretty good. Okay. Might scooch just a touch. To start with, you're going to need something that you can just lay down whatever color you're wanting to use down. So hydrangeas come, like I said, in yellows and blues and pinks and purples. So you really can't have quite the option. I think I'm going to do a blue. I think I'm going to do a pink. And I think I'm going to do a yellow. Okay, so those are the first 3 colors I'm going to lay down. So I'm going to put some of this blue. I know I have a bunch of new plates. I should find them. Here they are. Get a little bit of blue out. I think I'm going to do 1 at a time. I'm going to grab just a brush that's a little fluffy, well-loved, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this paint. And I'm not dry brushing, but I am taking some of it off on my palette. And I'm going to make my first one about this big. Okay. I might make it a little bigger. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to pounce this color to create this circle. If I run out of paint, I can grab more, but it's okay if I leave some of the background showing through as well. Hello, hello from Pennsylvania, Miss Kathy. Nice to have you with us. This was my kind of offload pile, so I'm just going to pick up a little more there because I want a little more filled in. Okay. So that's going to be one of my flowers. That's going to be this color. Water. I'm going to rinse that brush out. I'm going to grab, now I'm really thinking. Now I'm thinking something different, but I'm going to put a puddle of this down. This is dragon fruit. It's a real pretty pink. Colors I'm using are all from Decor. I do have a code you can use once every 6 months to save 20%. If you need that, just put code down and I will come back with it. I don't have it off the top of my head. Oops. Oh no. Oh no, no. This plate got set in. Hold, please. We have a little emergency. I need to fix this. I'm making sure I have white. I set the plate down over on my old palette that I thought was dry, and it's not. So I'm just going to remove this, hopefully. The advantage of base coating something a solid color, which is something I rarely do, is that, so I just had a little, oops, right? I'm going to wait till I'm done painting all my flowers, but if I needed to, I could come back then with that solid color and fix it. Okay. So now that I know that I did that, let's grab another plate to put underneath that so I don't do that again. All right. So I'm going to do my pink one about here. Here. So it's going to be like some of it's kind of tucked behind it. Okay. And again, you can do these any colors. I love they have a special name. They're kind of a greenish white, and that's the hydrangeas we have in our backyard, and I love them. And when I pull them or pick them, I just like to have one color of them, but you certainly can mix and match colors, which is why I was thinking I might just want to do this one being more of a light pink and the other one being a deeper pink, like a burgundy instead of a yellow. I'm going to do that. I think that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to grab deep burgundy. I can still do a yellow one later, and again, for right now, this doesn't even matter because this is a darker color. Picking that up, I'm just tapping a little bit off, and I'm thinking I want this one to be about like here. Okay. When I have something that has lines like this or this cracks, I just kind of ignore them. Okay, so that is step one. Pouncing of the circles, I'm pretty sure all of you can do no problem. Now we're going to start building these up, and we will do one at a time, but I want to show you different ways that you can make the shape, the petal shape, the small petal shape that we're going to be doing. And the way we get the variation and gets kind of that depth is two ways. One is that we use different size brushes. For instance, I left that brush upstairs. Lovely, lovely, lovely. If I were using filbert brushes, I might start with, this would be too big, but I might start with something larger and then pick a smaller size. And the same would go for a flat brush as well. But let me show you the petals first. I'm going to show it to you big, just so you can see it. And grab another plate. I'm going to show it to you with a filbert brush. Remember, when we load a flat or a filbert brush, we want to flip it over and load both sides. This is you don't have to be neat. I'm just going to set it down, set it down, set it down, set it down. With kind of the idea that that would be a 4-petal flower. But I can also just have maybe a couple that have 3, and I'm kind of sloppy. That's with a filbert brush, okay? I'm going to show you the same idea with a flat brush. And again, we would be doing two different things, different sizes and different, oh, that's the wrong brush. It would work too. It's an angle brush, but that not a lot of you use angle brushes. So let's try a flat brush. And we're going to do values, and that's how we're going to get there. So that's with your filbert. If I was going to do this with a flat brush, those petals will just be a little more square. But it's the same thing. It's just these little flicks of color, okay? They don't all even have to be completely filled in. The other option is a round brush. And round brush, same deal. I'd be picking up my paint and I'm just going to be setting them down, set it down, set it down, set it down, set it down. And most of those little cluster flowers inside are 3 to 4 petals, but you're not going to see them all perfectly formed together. And you'll see that coming up here really quick. I tend to bounce between my brushes. You might find one that just works better for you. That's why we play. And it's also why I really strongly suggest a multimedia pad that you can play in. Okay, I'm going to start with this guy. He's the one that's going to be on top. So maybe we'll start with this guy. Let's start with this pink one, okay? So I'm going to start with a good size petal. So not quite as big as I showed you. And I'm going to take this straight paint that we just used. Remember, I'm loading both sides. And I'm going to come in here and give it a few of these petal shapes. Now, if I don't cover my background completely, that's okay. So I'm just kind of laying some of these down like 4 petals. But I'm also going to make sure I get some around my edges. I don't have to cover it all, okay? Because I will be doing this numerous times. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to rinse that brush out. And I'm just going to grab something that's going to give me a slightly smaller petal, whether it's a smaller filbert brush, or I might just use the tip of this round brush. And I'm using the same color that I did my initial little pouncing with. They can vary in how much paint is on them. Okay. I'm going to go back to my bigger brush, but instead of doing the same color, I'm going to pick up a little white and I'm going to mix it with this pink. And I'm going to make it a little bit of a lighter value. Okay. I have too much water in my brush. And I'm going to come in here and do the same thing. If I happen to go over one of those, it's okay. I don't teach a lot about like sunlight hitting it, but if I think of this being where the light's going to hit, I'm going to make it darker where it's connected to that one. So I'm going to make sure I do some lighter ones up here. I can do that either with just my petals, or I can do that afterwards. I can go back after my flower is done and just deepen it with a deeper color. Okay, oops. See, I mixed those two together, but that's okay. You're going to have mixed colors. Okay, I'm going to rinse that brush. I'm not sure I loved that round. I'm not sure I loved it, so I might have to find me another brush. So again, I'm in that same color. Remember, I mixed some pink and white so I can make some littler ones. This one's not too little. We need something smaller. And there's no magic like you need to go from an 8 flat to a 4 flat. That just doesn't exist. It's how much pressure you put on your brush is really going to determine how much paint you have to disperse it. This is a really scruffy brush, but I think it'll work. So load this. Might need a little more paint. And I want some smaller ones. See, those are nice and small. They don't have to be perfect. I actually want to still see a little bit of my background, because when in nature, you will see through those flowers, even though they're very full. Do a couple smaller ones up here. So I'm just setting it down, lifting it up, setting it down, lifting it up. I'm not making a fancy stroke. I'm going to get a little lighter, so I'm just going to keep on with this brush. Maybe some of these will be a little thicker. And again, it's okay if I go over one part of a petal or all of a petal. I'm going to want these to be a little lighter up in this end of it, so I probably will do fewer of these as we get toward the other color flower, the blue flower. We'll just call it the blue flower, because that's what it is. Okay. And I think I'll do a couple with my bigger brush too, of this even lighter color. I'm not pure white, I am just very pale pink, okay? Catch just a couple here. Maybe a couple over here too. Okay. So it's already starting to take some shape. Okay, so I'm going to let that one chill for a minute. I've got this really dark color right here, and I'm not liking it, so I'm just going to pick that up and smoosh it into another flower, okay? I'm just going to let that chill for a minute, because one of the things when we're painting is if we let those colors settle in, and then we go back and add another layer, sometimes that'll make them pop even more. So we're going to let that be. I'm going to bounce over to the darker pink one, and I said that was the dark burgundy, and that's what this one ended up being. So again, do the same thing. I'm going to start with the color of the pouncing, and I'm going to make a few petals. I'm using a filbert, but you could do this with a flat, you could do this with a round, and it's okay if I still see some of my background. Put a little water. And I like to do it with at least 2 size brushes before I start lightening the color. So I think that's good to start with this. I ran out of paint. I have the perfect little filbert, and I must have left it upstairs because I really like it. Don't think that's going to work, because what I ended up using was this scruffy little liner brush. But if I push it down, you can see it almost could be like a little small flat. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do a few with this dark color still. Okay, so we've definitely got that going. I'm going to, again, pick up some white. I'm going to pick up a puddle here. I don't need that much to begin with, but I'm just going to lighten this up a little bit. And let's put some little ones in here. And because I didn't clean off my brush, I still have some of that darker color on there too. That one got a little white. I will do some with the bigger brush too. I just, while this brush was dirty, might as well use it. So you can see I am not being neat really at all. Use my filbert here. Same thing, I mixed it so it's just a little lighter. The hydrangeas come together really when you start adding their centers. Remember, the harder you push down, the more paint is going to come off of your brush. I've already said I kind of just ignore the cracks and just paint along. I'm going to lighten it again. It's okay to go over a petal or a whole flower. I'm just not bringing it all the way to white. I'm keeping some of whatever color that is in my mix. And you can go back. If I got all this done and went, I really need to make it a little more shadowy next to that blue flower, I can always go back and just go back to the straight color. Now I'm going to rinse that, and I'm going to grab my smaller brush. And we kind of went to this lighter color. I might need to mix it a little more. And I'm going to do some of these smaller ones. I'm not pure white. I know it sometimes looks like it, but might need a little more white. I tend to do these rather quickly, like just blah, 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 blah. But you can take your time and actually set them down, lift them up, and have a little more control. Boop, 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 boop. So I think we've got some good varying colors there. I'm going to rinse that out. And what I've done is I've actually kept the idea it's going to be darker here, a little darker next to this one. I might want to just darken a few more. I might have gotten a little light right next to him, this one. With the idea that when we do when it all comes together, this one will look like it's on top. All right, we're to our blue. Now, my background is actually Prussian blue, which is a really, really dark blue. And remember, Prussian blue is what made that blue one there. Actually, that is not Prussian blue, I can tell you that. That is actually just regular primary blue. But I really don't need to, don't think I'm going to have to do anything darker than this blue. I could change my mind. We'll find out. There's way too much water in that brush. So I'm picking up the blue, just the blue, and I'm going to start doing our little petals. This is with the big brush. What I love about blue hydrangeas is that they actually have a little bit of pink in them too. It's probably not pink in them. It's probably more the reflections I get. But I'm okay if I pick up a touch of burgundy here and there too. It'll just reflect back from my flower. I can make sure some of these petals are going to go on top. So they're the petals that we're going to see around our edge the most. Okay, let's do a couple small ones. I'll go over that again. I'm kind of flattening out this small little brush, and I'm going to come in and make some smaller ones. And let's start lightening it up. I'm going to pick up a big scoop of white. Let's just first make it just a little lighter. And the other thing you can do is actually pick up that white on the tip, and they'll actually give you more of a two-toned color. But we're just going to deal with these lighter ones right now. Don't worry if you go over a flower, even if you go over one that you just put down, it is okay. I will not be on social media tomorrow, or it's my plan not to be. But I'd love to know if you like things like this, and I think we can do a few more of these as we are getting ready to open the doors to Blooming Brushes very soon. I think I'd like to do some more flowers with you guys first. Oops, picking a couple more lighter ones, and then I'm going to lighten things again. I haven't done any of the lighter ones with the bigger brush yet. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next. Remember, just mixing white with the same color. We're not trying to get it. We want to do this in steps. If you can do like 4 layers, it's probably the best, which means you don't need to probably do as many as I'm doing of each color. I think I'm going to pick up just a tiny touch. My light blue, I'm going to pick up just a tiny touch of this pink and do just a couple that are showing a little more pink reflecting back. Just a couple. Remember, you don't have to always do them in 4s. Sometimes you can just lay a couple of them down. Okay. And like those two, we're going to let this blue one sit for just a minute. Rinsing my brush. And I'm going to go back to my pink one. And I'm going to make a really, really, really light pink, okay? Not white. Really, really, really light pink. And now that these have set a little bit, I'm going to put just a couple more in here where I really want to have some ideas of a bit more of a highlight. So they don't have to go everywhere. I'll do it with the small brush too. I ran out of white paint. Like this one, I feel like we needed a couple more petals here, but they didn't need to be quite that white, so I just added a little more pink back into it. Okay, just so, that's pretty good. Let's move on to the burgundy one, and we'll do that same thing. We're going to make a really, really light, actually making a different shade of a pink. I'll do the small ones first. And let's do a couple of the big ones. And if I goof up and I get to be too pink, I can just come back and add a little more of the burgundy. Not too pink, too white. Okay. And we'll do that last thing with the blue one here. And then we're going to tie them all together with their dots. So this is, again, going to be a light blue, really light blue. This is where I want on this blue one for it to look like it's going over the other ones a little more. And I'll switch to the smaller brush. And I'm going to smush this brush down so it almost is like a little flat. Into wet paint. Didn't really want to do that. Okay. So far, so good. Take a quick second and look, see what we're doing. It is easy because they're not perfect flowers. They're blobs. If you think of these as just blob after blob after blob, you're just doing different colors, different shades of the same color, and different sizes. They start to look more like flowers and blobs. Sorry, I needed some water. All right. Here's how they start coming together. We're going to use a yellow, and you can either use a bright yellow, but I've just been really liking this baby duck. And you can do this with a stylus, which is a dotting tool. Okay, this is not opening because it is got, I have been so bad about not closing my paints, and then they get so gooey. Okay, you can do this with a stylus. This is a stylus. It's a little dotting tool. I tend to just do mine with my liner brush because, again, then I can kind of control how much pressure I'm putting down. So I'm going to pick this up with my little liner brush, and I'm going to look at, we're going to start with the pink one. I'm going to look and say, oh, look, that looks like there's 4 petals there. And I'm going to put a little dot in the center of it. There, that one looks like there's 4 petals. They may not be the 4 petals I originally put in here, but you'll start to see that there looks like, oh, I'm not sure if that's 4 petals, but those two look like they would be going to the same place. And you might even need to stick just a couple random dots in the voided areas, these areas that you're not sure what the heck happened there. There might be a little flower just tucked back in there. So we want to come in and put these little centers. I'm going to lift this up or bring you closer when let me see what I can do there. See, like right there looks like there probably was more petals behind it. This one here. Let's do one up there. I think there would have been one back in there. And I bet there was one there. Just little dots. And when you get done with, or think you're done with one, go start doing the next one. There are different color centers. Some centers are more of a green, like a limeish green. Some of them come off to be more white, and sometimes you see multiple colors. Sometimes you're doing the dots for the big ones, the bigger petal, and some of them for the smaller ones. Sometimes you got a couple small ones right next to each other. Boom. That's it out. And I'm going to pop over and do my blues. was in the grocery store the other day and they had hydrangeas. I thought that it seems early to me. I was actually thinking about postponing this day, going, wait a minute, it's still February. We should be painting tulips. But I think sometimes it's good to get a head start on something like flowers that you might want to be painting for summer that you can start on earlier. Boom, boom. I will show you where I did all my dots to begin with. And some of them, they might end up getting a little more smushed, but that's okay. So there we have on the burgundy flower. And I'm going to pivot it. And there you can see some of those dots on the blue flower as well. Now, something else I like to remind my students of is when you're painting, do yourself a favor, stand up, look at your painting from over it, lift your painting up and look at it from a distance, and you will see things like I suddenly saw that right in through here on my blue one, that there needed to be something in that space. When we are painting and we are literally on top of our painting, we miss stuff. We really do. We miss seeing if there's enough contrast. We miss seeing where there's something different. Even for me when I'm teaching, because when I teach, I have, so this is where I'm working on, and I can kind of see some of the stuff that you're there, and then I have an iPad but they're all look just a tiny bit different. Okay. I may come back and add some more petals to these, but for now, they look pretty good. Pretty good? What do you think? They look pretty good? So let's talk about leaves for a minute. When I'm painting hydrangeas, I do a really, really simple leaf. Now, I go off of the color that I'm used to, which is a deeper color for my hydrangea leaves. Everybody's different, but I would say you'd at least want to do something as deep as forest. You might even like dark Hauser green. I might be challenged because I'm working on this dark background. However, this was black, and those are my leaves, right? Nothing fancy, right? They're very, very simple. So we're going to see how this does for us. Now, my leaves, while I could do them with a filbert brush, I tend to do them with a flat brush. And the size of your brush is going to determine the size of your leaves. If I used this 8 flat, it would take me a long time to make a big leaf, but I might need it if I have a couple little smaller leaves. So I'm going to find something a little larger. This should do. This is about this is a 12. Decor brushes are also phenomenal. So we're going to load this brush. It does not need to be wet, but I might dampen it. And then I want to pick up my paint, and I'm going to push my paint onto my brush about halfway up the bristles on both sides. Okay. I want a leaf that's going off this direction. So I'm going to kind of curve it a little bit. I'm going to make a little line like such. Okay. That just kind of tells me about where I want my brush. Now, leaf. Now, obviously, some of this is behind here, but I might still see a little bit of it. You can take it in the flat part of it or the chisel part of it, and I'm just going to kind of go up in a curve just to give myself this leaf shape to begin with. That doesn't look like a leaf. I know that doesn't look like a leaf. Oh, guys, let's try. Move you over a little bit more. Sorry, I apologize. But I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to think that this is going to come either off the flat or up in the chisel. Now, that's just giving me the shape of my leaf. That's all I wanted to do. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to reload my brush. And this is where I'm going to really start filling it in, okay? My hydrangea leaves are pretty, not rugged. What's the word I'm looking for? Jagged on the edges. So I think that's kind of an advantage when you're doing something like this, that you're not sure how fancy you want your leaves to be. I know I don't want mine to be fancy. I want mine to just have their color in here. I did want to cover up most of my background, which I did a pretty decent job. I might have to sneak a little bit of this green right into around my flower. I'm just sneaking it. I'm not like doing anything special. Now, I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'm going to pick up, with the green on my brush, pick up a little bit of that yellow. And I'm just going to, while it's still wet, I'm just going to kind of think about highlighting this side of that leaf. I want it to be lighter on that side of my leaf. Maybe a little bit on the tip here. Okay. Now, very optional, I could do that same color, and I might want to see a little bit of a vein in the middle of it. You don't have to do this. The ones I showed you didn't have it. I'm just going to put a few little extra marks, okay? Your leaves are not the star of these hydrangeas. Really, our star is supposed to be the hydrangeas. So I'm going to come here and do the same thing I did, but it's going to be a very weird looking leaf because it would have been mostly behind those flowers. I'm really just trying to fill in some space. So I'm just kind of filling in about what we kind of would think a leaf might coming out from there. And then, of course, the rest of it is off the board. And the same thing. Remember, I said I might be seeing a little sun, so I might actually pull this leaf with a little of this green and yellow, just a little bit over that hydrangea a little more. Okay. So we've got that one. Let's do another leaf going off this way. Notice I have not cleaned my brush. If at any point it starts to drag, I'm just going to need to go rinse it, tap it on my paper towel, not even worrying that it's perfectly clean, and then I go back to loading my brush on both sides. And I'm going to do one going this way. Again, I just do that first line just to kind of give me, first line, sorry guys, first line to kind of give me an idea where that one is going to go. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to make this kind of this jagged edge. I tend to go more on my chisel first to build it. If you build it, they will come. Name the movie. Okay, so I've got a, whoops, I'm not sure I wanted white there. It's okay, we'll just blend that in. You'll never know. Okay, and again, I'm going to think about, I said it was lighter here. So I'm going to pick up my green with a little bit of yellow in it, and I might let a couple of these be a little lighter on this side. Maybe just a little bit on my tip too. And let's see if we can see. Okay, so we have those leaves. Now, in the flowers I showed you, 47, okay. Field of Dream. Good job, Robin. That was the theme for our very first big fundraiser for Matthias, Field of Dreams. Okay. One little thing that really does help pull things together is that, see that little bit of white you see in there? It's nothing more than using your same scruffy brush that you used to create the flowers. Mine is probably in the water. It is. I'm going to dry it off. Whoops. I just threw brushes everywhere. And I'm going to find some clean white. Here, this is pretty clean. So I'm picking it up. I'm tapping it off. I might even tap that one on my paper towel a little bit. And I'm going to find little nooks and corners, like one here. That it might just be a little nice if it had a little bit of baby's breath stuck in there. Now, baby's breath really does not look like that. Baby's breath is little bits. Now I could try to, baby's breath really would be like little bits like here and there, and then they'd be connected with a stem. So maybe we'll do one here just to show it off. So then you'd need to have a skinny brush and a green that was going to show up, and then they would kind of encase, and they would all come together. Little branches come down to one stem. But this is why we do them the other way, because they're faster and they don't really look that much difference on a finished painting. Okay. I said it might, maybe I put a little bit in here too. Okay. It just kind of helps tie it all together. Now, this is where we're going to go back and take a quick peek. Is there any spots I'd really like to bring a little more to? And I think the blue one could use, I think we could use a couple more little really light blue ones. So I might just come in here and just do a couple little light blue ones. I might even go almost white. And they might be in places where I've got too much of the same color. And if I need to, I might have to add a couple little extra centers. And that could be on any of the particular flowers that you look back. And again, when you step back and come back and look at it, you'll see that it might need a little extra color here or there. Now, I said I was thinking about using these words, and I actually think I'll put the words on before I try to put any other flowers on. And in order to do that, this needs to dry for just a bit, and I'm not going to hit it with a blow dryer quite yet. What I'm going to do is take it and set it aside. I'm just setting it down on the floor so when I can't find it. And let me just show you one of these with, so these are metal buckets. I did wipe them off with rubbing alcohol, and they're dry. You could use regular acrylic paints, or you could use a paint like, come on, Tammy, like Deco Art Gloss Enamels, okay? So let me just give you a quick demo on this one. So same deal, except for that cover wood is not going to come up. I'm going to make a blue hydrangea, okay? It's a little different color blue than the one we used, but that is okay. I'm going to need that color, and I'm going to need white, and I'll need a green. But for right now, we're just going to do one hydrangea on here. And I'm going to start it the exact same way. I'm going to dry off my brush. I'm going to pick up a little blue. I'm going to just kind of tap it on my plate here. And I'm going to make a hydrangea about that big. I'm going to use my filbert brush, or a round brush, or any brush I can still find. My gracious. I dropped a brush. Hang on. We're going to use this one. So I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to just lay this down. Now, enamel paints react a little differently. They are a little, you're working on a very slick surface, and enamel paints are not going to suck in to that slick surface like we soak into paper or wood the same way. You don't know one brush from another. Okay, well, let me give you a quick little, a filbert brush. Oh, you can see this. It has a rounded tip. I'm going to grab a big one. Yeah, this is a really big one. See how it's got a rounded tip? It's not flat, versus, even though these are scruffy brushes, that's a flat brush because it is just a square on top of your ferrule, where this one is rounded. And then if you have a brush like this that's cut at an angle, it's an angle brush. rounds and liners are just, a round is going to be a little fatter at the base and be able to hold a little more paint. Okay, so we've done our first one. I'm probably going to be a little lazy and just do some of these in both sizes. I'm going to lighten this up. I'm going to lay some of these down. And you can tell I am not being very careful about these at all. I am just setting them down. If I still have some of that other color in my brush, it's okay. Okay, let's switch to a smaller brush to do a couple smaller petals on this one. My water's dirty. My water's dirty. I've got dirty water. Do a couple smaller ones. And I'm just going to forego the first color. I'm just going to start doing lighter ones. Boop, 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 boop. It's very white, but it's okay. We'll just blend it. My paint is still wet, so my colors are blending. And at some point, I'm going to want to stop doing this so I can let those first colors dry a bit so I have new petals on top and they're not just blending into the bottom ones. And this might be the time to do that. Let me do a quick little peek of where I've missed. Okay. So I need to let that just set before I finish my petals. So I can flip back and forth between things. Because I have to let this paint dry a little differently, we'll go ahead and we'll just add a leaf to it. I'm going to do it the same way. Get a little green. I know I'm going to be needing a yellow for my centers anyhow, so I can pull that out. And these don't need to be as big, so let's go ahead and use a smaller brush. Loading my paint. We're just going to do a leaf this way, and I'm just going to pull kind of with the chisel of my brush to create the shape of this leaf. And I might do one going down this way too. We'll just give them a couple. Bloop, bloop. Okay. While I still have that green on my brush, I'll pick up some of that yellow and blend it in. And I'm just going to do the tips of this one. And maybe just the side of this one. Okay. So I got leaves on that side. I'll go ahead and do one leaf on the other side. These little buckets are handy outside. We don't smoke, but we do have matches for things like the fire pit and stuff. And I just keep a thing of sand near the fire pit, and that way we just throw our matches in there, and we know they're not going where they shouldn't go. Okay, just lightening up my tip a little bit, and let's maybe give it a little vein. Okay, so I'm gonna, my paint is not dry, but it should have set up enough that I can see my lighter colors and they won't blend in quite as much. So let me make a little lighter blue. And let's come in here and make a few lighter ones. They're still blending quite a bit. The enamel paint I do not need to seal. It will self-seal. If it was a glass, I would bake it. I will not bake metal. But after it sits for a while, it is permanent and it will not come off because it is an enamel paint. There's this one spot when I look in my back of my iPad that's bugging me. So, boop, maybe lighten that one up a little bit. Boop, 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 boop. So, remember what kind of pulled the other ones together? It's those little dots, right? So again, just use the tip of your brush. You can use a stylus and find spots where you feel like the couple petals that you see could have been one petal or one little cluster flower, or maybe you're only seeing two petals, but they look like they would have played well with others. Make sure you think about that there's some behind there too. So sometimes you're just going to see it, just see a couple petals like right here. Maybe go, oh, I bet there's more petals over there. I feel like my flower on this one got a little wonky. So I'm going to actually grab this brush again. I'm just going to do I think we could just, I'm just trying to lighten it there. I think that might do me a little lighter than I wanted. So we'll come back. But like I said, you don't have to be one and done. You can come back and add more petals. You can come back and add any shade you want. You make this yours. Now that I've added those petals, though, I'm going to have to come back and add a couple more centers. When you're working with enamel paint, you want to keep your brush as dry as possible because water is just going to run off your pad, your pail. Yeah. It's a little wonky, but we can fix it. Okay, so there you saw one in this. So the key with this is after you're done painting it, you just let it dry completely. And it's like, I think it's, I'll have to read the back of it. And this is the smallest writing ever. You can either bake it at 325 for 30 minutes. And it's after like 3 weeks, it is like, it's permanent. Okay, again, you got a little wonky. I might have to come back and give him a little love, but it won't be anything major. Just a couple petals here and there will round him out. And hey, not all hydrangeas are perfectly round either. They just aren't. But I'm going to see if I can round this guy out just a touch. He's a little better, okay? But you get the idea that it's the different sizes, not shapes. Different, and the shapes are different too, so that's fine. Let me pull this up, see if it's dry enough for me to stencil on, and if it is, we will maybe add one more. I need to get rid of my enamel paint. I'm going to move my brushes, move my paint, and it's like, what color would I do the lettering if I did it? This stencil is one of Melissa Bradshaw's collaborations. So I think if I go right above the May Your Journey, oops, down it fell. Just gonna need to make sure it's straight, okay. I think that I will seal this with a polyacrylic when I'm done. I think I'm gonna do the letters in silver. So I just put some paint out, rolling around my brushes. I'm going to grab a dome stencil brush. I'm offloading it. May your journey. I mean, can I actually be lucky enough? I know I'm going to hit this, though. Actually, I think I'm okay. We're just going to go for it. I thought I was going to have to shift it, but I really don't. Remember, if you need stencils, there is free shipping in February on any size order. That's not something they do very often. And so, of course, you've just got a couple days left to do that. So it doesn't matter if you just needed to grab a stencil and maybe it was time to look to see if the brushes are back in. I don't know. I haven't been on the site today. And I do have that line, but I think it's going to be okay just where it's hitting. I just need to make sure. I think I'm all right. Let's hope. And then if you use the code CHEERS, oh, this was going to be a problem. I'm going to fix that. It's good. You can save 10%. My H might be a problem. We'll find out. Yeah, my H is a problem, but we can fix it. We can fix that H by just using a small brush. We'll use a flat here. I'm just going to go right across here and make this my H right at the very bottom and the very top. There's nothing to catch it in between, and that's okay. Okay, I'm glad I did that because I don't think I would really want to add any more to that. I think that's pretty good. So, what did you think of hydrangeas? Do you like that? So it'll be just like that. Yeah, that'll hang nice. I think that'll work. So there we just did a couple colors, but you can see you can do any color you want with the hydrangeas. And so that way we have a couple shades of pink and one more of that light blue, and they look pretty darn good. And we did let some of those pinks reflect back into that blue one, kind of, you would see that. And then we also showed you really quick how you could do them on like just this tiny little bucket. Cute. Not quite Easter baskety, but it's still cute. Okay. All right. So that's hydrangeas for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, you can watch this for 30 days. I will be downloading and uploading it. You can paint like that, Mary. You can. You can. What? So we'll make them. They're blobs. They're blobs that have centers. So you can do that. You really can. And if you do it, I'd love for you to share it with me on the Cheers to Creativity page, and we'll come up with something else we can do soon too. Yep, watch in the beginning. You got 30 days to watch it, and then I will post it over on my YouTube channel. Thank you so very much for being with me today, and I will be on Virtual Home Decor Marketplace at 6 o'clock doing a Thrifty Thursday sale. I have no idea with what yet. I'll figure that one out. And then at 7 on Essential Stencil, which I haven't figured that out yet either. All right, have a great afternoon. Cheers.